Good afternoon, Rumboyz and girls, the Rumboyz Nation, as we like to call it here on the Rumboyz Fantasy Network. You see the logo down there. I gotta love it, gotta love it. Um, Eat, sleep, check my lineup, repeat. That's pretty much the way that our lives go for about the next 14 weeks out of the football season. 14, 15, 16, all depending on how your league is set up. That's pretty much how our lives work and revolve. Story is no different here. We did not do it last week because last week it would have been a really short waiver wire special for us to, throw names out there that we felt that you guys should have picked. And just there wasn't enough. It was 1 week of football, of regular season football, and 1 week of fantasy football. There weren't any trends or anything to go off of. Now we have some information. Now we have some trends. Now we're a little smarter and wiser than what we were. Now it is still early. I do just want to make sure that I put out that if you are in a league right now and you are 0-2 right now, don't worry. Okay, I'm not in that situation, but if you are in that situation and you are in a league that you are 0-2, this is going to be the special for you. This is going to be the weekly episode for you. If you are maybe not that good at fantasy football, you need to kind of just learn the ins and outs of it. This is going to be where you're really going to need the help. If you don't know football really and you're playing fantasy football, you don't know some of the lesser named guys and who to go and grab. Once again, your weekly special here on the Rumboyz Fantasy Network. Before we get into some names and we get into some players, you guys already know what it is. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. So you know what we got to do. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the Rumboyz and girls, what it do. Dilly Dilly Nation, let's get into it. First up in the first name, that I'm wanting to get into here. I'm actually gonna start off with, and also just so you guys know, we are gonna discuss injuries and trade scenarios and stuff like that throughout the course of this episode. But the first name that I want to bring up is a running back. Now there haven't been a whole lot of running backs out there that you're immediately running out there and you're dashing to go and get. Ronald Jones had a pretty bad showing last week, but I think that him and Barber will continue to split the carries. But nonetheless, running backs that I want to put out there that I feel like you should maybe go and get. Frank Gore, the ageless wonder, has remained stable, and he's been doing his thing. He had 14.3 fantasy points this last week. Week one, a mere 2. Devin Singletary is definitely making himself to be the clear cut one there, and he's making it known that he's going to be the man there in Buffalo. But Frank Gore, if you absolutely need it, could be a guy. Me personally, I'm not going out there and I'm not getting him. But if you're in a deep league, that he's a very, 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 very deep league play. Carlos Hyde as well has been another guy to where he's been, about a 9-point guy. Both weeks 8.5 and in week 1 and then 9. In week 2, he's there in Houston, splitting carries with Duke Johnson. Carlos Hyde could be a guy that you look at as well. Carlos Hyde is owned and rostered in about 44.9% of leagues. So there's a good grab up that you can go and get him. Frank Gore's rostered in 16.4. These are nowhere near guys that I would, I'm just kind of going down the list here. Chris Thompson is available on the waiver wire. He's rostered in 51.7% of leagues. I'm not a believer in Chris Thompson. A lot of people are high on Chris Thompson from the Washington Redskins. I am not high on him. I feel that as long as Darius Geis is injured, and I feel like the injuries are going to continue for Geis, uh, that AP is gonna be the guy. We've already know what Chris Thompson can do. His time has came and went. Uh, let's see here. Jamal Williams shows that he has some he could be explosive, but I'm not saying to run and go and get him. Now here's my number one running back pick on the waiver wire. In terms of the running backs, for the most part, you're probably not touching them, except for this one guy, rostered in just 11% of leagues, is Raheem Mostert. Okay, now I said on the NFL Rum Zone special that he's more than likely. What's good gaming with JT? He's more than likely going to be available on the waiver wire for you at some given point. Okay, I had stated that on Rum Zone Sunday. Here it is, Tuesday, the start of the day, the first day that you go out there and put in waiver wire claims. Um, Raheem Mostert is definitely a guy that you could probably look at. Him and Breida are splitting touches with the injury to Tevin Coleman. Coleman is on a day-to-day, week-to-week type of status. So if you missed out on going to get Breida when Coleman went down, don't fret. You could get Mostert, and there's a chance that you could probably get him. I don't think that a lot of people out there are looking just based off of the trends that are happening in fantasy football right now. I don't think a lot of people are eager to run and go and get them a running back off of the waiver wire. And if your league is following that trend and you notice that trend in your league, then go for Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert needs to be the number one guy at the running back position that you are putting in for a waiver claim. Okay? I'm just stating that right out the gate. I know that he only had 4 points in week one, but he did have 21.1. I think that he's going to continue to do that. He has a bye coming up in week four, so he gets to have some rest then. Maybe he's only a short borrow guy. You get him for a couple of weeks, and then boom, boom. But I say if he's available, you go and you get him. Okay, that's just that's just me. Um, let's just see here. I do want to. So yeah, that's pretty much who I got on the waiver wire. Um, I mean Edmonds down in Arizona. Chase Edmonds could see increased workload if that there is a serious injury to David Johnson. He did he did kind of go out the last game due to a left wrist injury. Um, so could he maybe be a guy that you go out there and get because of that with David Johnson, and us possibly having to worry about David Johnson? Maybe yeah, sure you go ahead and you can and you can roster him, and he's 100% rosterable. But the 100% guy that you're placing a waiver for out of the running back position is going to be Raheem Mostert. Who should I? Who should you start, Diggs or Mixon, as a flex? So it's going to depend on the matchup that they are playing. So taking a look here, Stephon Diggs in week 3, he's going to be playing Oakland, and then Mixon. Let's see here. Yeah, you guys can post fantasy questions in the chat, and I will answer them in between me doing this. Okay, so I am going to start Stephon Diggs. Okay? Cincinnati has to go up against Buffalo. That Buffalo defense has been stout. They're going to stop the run. I'm starting Stephon Diggs. Mixon has not gotten together fantasy-wise this season. Awesome, awesome. So let's continue forward here with players that we're gonna roster. Like I said, there's only one clear cut at the running back position, so we're gonna now move on to I wanna say my wide receiver talk. I want to say my wide receiver talk because I got some interesting things I want to lay out there. Um, I want to go ahead and talk about the quarterback situations and what you're going to be looking at in those scenarios. If you are one in regards to the injuries that have taken place, if you have lost, you know, Nick Foles week one, obviously, you probably moved on and you figured out that situation there. He more than likely wasn't your QB1, I'm hoping. Uh, let's talk about Roethlisberger and Breeze. Let's talk about Roethlisberger and Breeze. So it's stated that Breeze is probably going to miss the season, which makes it Mason Rudolph time. I'd say if you have Roethlisberger, maybe you give the young kid a shot. Maybe you go ahead, hit the waiver wire, try and get him. I can almost guarantee that Mason Rudolph is out there. I can almost 100% guarantee. As a matter of fact, he's rostered in 0.2% of leagues. I'm pretty sure that in the Sportscaster League, because we auto drafted the last pick and we got Mason Rudolph with the last pick in that massively huge league, because it's like 18, 20 people in that league. I'm pretty sure that I'm that 2%. I'm that 0.2. Yeah. So it is what it is. There. Um. Da-da-da-da-da. So, what can you do in the situation of if you want to look at the waiver wire? So, me personally, first I advise trying to trade for a much higher level guy. You could go one of two ways with this because you know that Drew Brees is tough as nails, and he's going to want to get out there and get back onto the field as soon as possible. He is seeking a second opinion in regards to in regards to the hand, because he feels that maybe he could speed up that recovery. I don't know if I trust this. Hand injuries are nothing to play with. You need these. Um, with that being said and with that being stated, could they rush him back out there, and could he just be tough as nails like we know he is, and he go out there and sling the rock really well? Hell yeah, he's Drew Brees. But also with that being stated and also with that being said, you don't want to possibly risk another injury to that hand. And I know that it was a throwing hand that I jammed into Aaron Donald's hand. With that being said, you could either go with trading him for someone that's gonna, you want to, and if you're gonna trade him, you want to look for someone that has 2 or 3 quarterbacks on their roster, on their lineup. Maybe you could see about sniping one of those guys away from them, because then when you send that trade over, you can validate, hey, bro, like you got 2 or 3 QBs. Um, Come on, let one up. If you want to go and you want to hit the waiver wire, then this is likely guys that you're going to be looking at. Jameis Winston will be available out there. He had 9.1 fantasy points in week 1 and then 14.8 in week 2 in ESPN formats. Josh Allen, he could be a baller for you. 18.4 in week 1, 24.1 in week 2, and he is playing the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, so if you want to take the waiver wire route, you can. You may be in a league or two where one of these guys that should be rostered is probably not rostered. So maybe you walk away with the Stafford, and you can get a Stafford. Um, More than likely, Stafford's probably on someone's lineup though. Um, Maybe you're a Drew Brees owner and you're like, psh, let me go ahead and go out there and get Teddy Bridgewater. Let me just get Breeze's back up in real life. Um, if that's a gamble that you want to take. I don't think that Bridgewater is going to be effective even with passing to Michael Thomas. Um, Jimmy G could be available. He had 24.4 points in week 2. It seemed like he was getting it together, but the 49ers 2-0 is a fluke. I mean, he's going to probably go back to throwing interceptions. Jacoby Brissett is likely to be available. He's had a solid 18 points in both of his outings, 18 and a half, give or take. I mean, Mason Rudolph, when he came in after the Big Ben injury, had 12.4 fantasy points. So maybe you look at him. Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton would be a guy that's out there. Andy Dalton has been in the 20s both weeks, 26.2 and then 22.2. So maybe you go ahead and you hit the wire like, psh, I got to let somebody go and I got to get Dalton. So that's what you're going to be looking at in the quarterback scenario for the quarterbacks, for the two injured guys. Um, Derek Carr. Derek Carr? No, I'm not trusting Derek Carr. 16 points in week 1, 12 points in week 2. So yeah, it appears that your best bet would probably, if you're going to hit the waiver wire, is going to be Andy Dalton in that scenario. Best luck to you when you're playing Andy Dalton. He's came out on fire thus far. Is he going to keep that up throughout a whole season? We'll see. He appears fired up from all the talk of everybody. Saying that the Red Rocket is done, the arm is gone, the arm strength is gone. But we will see. Appreciate that thumbs up. The GOAT won. Appreciate the GOAT won. Let's see here. So, is OJ Howard for Jamison Crowder a good trade? My starter right now is Delaney Walker. OJ's price is down because of bad week 1 and 2. You could so with that, okay. You could look at it one of two ways. Yeah, OJ Howard has had a bad week 1 and week 2, but this is a guy that's very talented, so the upside is still there. I don't know if I would do if I would do the trade for Jamison Crowder. It just doesn't seem like they didn't target Jamison Crowder at all last night in New York until the fourth quarter and the final plays of that fourth quarter at that. So not confident with it. It seems like they did let the playbook fly a little bit more with Falk. He passed a little bit more than Simeon did last night. With that being said, though, I'm just not trusting Crowder in that Jets offense where Le'Veon Bell is going to touch the ball 25, 30 times a game. I just I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that one. So yeah, for you and your scenario, stick with OJ. Stick with OJ. And that actually is going to bring up our wide receiver talk, actually. So let's go ahead and let's get into some wide receiver talk. So some big things happened with receivers this week. Some big things. So yes, Jamison Crowder is likely to be on the waiver wire. Could he be a guy that you could go out there and get? I mean, yeah, if you want to deal with the guy that's going to have inconsistent weeks. I mean, week 1, 10 points, but then week 2, 4 points against the Browns. They play the Jets, or the Jets play New England. They go on a bye. Then they play Philly. Then they play Dallas. Then they play New England again. Then they play Jacksonville. I want no parts of Jamison Crowder with that schedule. So I'm gonna stay away from Jameson Crowder on waivers. Marvin Jones Jr. is available as a receiver. He had 6 points in week 1, 4.3 against the Chargers in week 2. Now I'm not sure how I'm feeling about him. So he's gonna be another one that I'm gonna stay away from. Okay, Mike Williams. Now he stepped up a little bit, went from a 2.9 showing in Indianapolis against Indianapolis in week 1, and then at Detroit came out with 8.3. He had a very big catch, very spectacular for Mike Williams. Um, I think they'll probably target him more, especially with the absence of Hunter Henry. Maybe you could go ahead and justify getting Mike Williams now with the absence of Hunter Henry not being there. They are still going to have to figure out the tight end situation there in Los Angeles for the Chargers. But nonetheless, that does kind of raise his stock a little bit. He is rostered, and he's actually rostered in about 90% of leagues. I'm shocked that he's on the waiver wire in the one league that I'm referring to as a manual for us. Got to bring out a rookie here that I want to talk about. Okay, Terry McLaurin of the Washington Redskins has seemingly separated himself. Uh, I feel as as probably the potential number one there in Washington. He had 19.5 points in week 1, 12.2 in week 2 in ESPN standard scoring formats. With that being said, I am high on this kid. He has got to be your number one waiver wire claim this week. If you weren't able to get him last week, when there was hype already building up around him, and he's still available, then you need to go for him and you need to go and get him. This is go and get your guy season. The F1 McLaurin is fired up and ready to go in Washington D.C. He's a guy that you could definitely put in a waiver claim, and you'd probably be happy if you got him. They play Chicago in week 3, but then they end up with the Giants. They go up against another hard team in New England, but then they play Miami, San Francisco. So they end up with some leeway around about week 6. I'm liking Terry McLaurin as a guy that you get off the waiver wire. What's good, A6DA? There are two guys that could practically you're gonna be happy either or that you get for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs with an injury to Tyreek Hill. There's going to be plenty of production and plenty to go around. This was already going to be a high production fantasy offense, fantasy friendly offense. But Demarcus Robinson balled out. Mecole Hardman would have had 2 touchdowns last week had one not been called back. Okay, as well as D-Rob. D-Rob had 2 touchdowns and 172 yards receiving. You have got to go and pick this guy up. But if you're not able to get Demarcus Robinson, then get Mecole Hardman. Okay? Mecole is definitely playable. You can definitely pick up Mecole and still say, hey, I got away pretty good here. He had 12.1 points. He didn't play in week 1. They didn't really utilize him or throw to him really in week 1. But if you get Mecole, because you couldn't get Demarcus Robinson, you're still gonna be happy. They're the Kansas City Chiefs. They're gonna move the ball around a lot. I like this team. I like this offense. They are high power. They are fantasy friendly. If there are any pieces available of this offense on the market, I want in on all the guys, on all the guys, and they're all they can all potentially get you points. Debo Samuel did have 15.4 fantasy points last week. He could be a potential guy. Um, and then also Devin Smith out of Dallas. They did state that they are going to try and give him more workload. I'm not too sure how that's going to work. I'm not high on that. I'm not sold on it. I know that he did have a big outing this past week in week 2 against the Skins, but I mean it is what it is. I'm just not high on the kid yet. Let me see another solid week of production before I add you in the list, but I can definitely toss you in there as an honorable mention, kid. Um, if Valdez Scantling is available, I mean, maybe you take a gamble there. But Aaron Rodgers just passes the ball, and once he finds a target that he keys into, he's keyed in, he's locked in. Um, but those are my biggest waiver wire pickups for wide receiver. And guys to stay away from. But the top 3 that I say that you go and get off the waiver wire are Demarcus Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Mecole Hardman. Um, and then actually I'll toss in a number 4, Mike Williams, if all else fails. So those are the guys I'd say are top guys that you go and you get off the waiver wire. Once again, Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Terry McLaurin, Mike Williams. And then once again, for your running backs, it's just Mostert. It's just Raheem Mostert. That's the only guy that you need to go for. But I mean, everyone else that's down there, I guess, could be honorable mentions. And that's a big ass group of honorable mentions, to be honest. Um, then at the quarterback position, I mean, gosh, at the quarterback position. Oh, by the way, Marquise Brown is only rostered in 73.9% of leagues. Just wanted to put that out there for you guys. So there's still some leagues where he's out there. But other than that, the only other thing that I want to just touch on again is with those quarterbacks due to the injuries, you kind of have waiver wire options depending on what league you're in, who you're playing against. Um, you could go to the waiver wire if you're in that Drew Brees or Roethlisberger situation, Nick Foles situation. Um, or you could try and see if you could go via trade, whether it's someone and I say you target someone in your league that has 2 or 3 quarterbacks on their roster, alleviate some of that pressure. Um, so you could do it through trade. More likely, if they got that many quarterbacks because of depth and situations, that there's a chance they may not be making the playoffs. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I got. I mean, maybe you bench one and you try and ride out Josh Allen for as long as you can. Andy Dalton for as long as you can. And you just pray to the fantasy gods that they can be productive until we know what's going on with Drew Brees' hand. Like I said, we know that he's a baller. We know that he wants to be out there on the field with his guys, with his team, calling the shots, running the plays, pushing him towards winning a ring. We know that he doesn't want to miss too much time. I'm not 100% on board and confident with Bridgewater being the quarterback back there, or even Taysom Hill for that matter. So I'm like, freak the fuck out, dude, because it's like, you need him. You need Breeze out there. You need Breeze. You need Breeze out there. Point blank and simple. If you're New Orleans, your whole season is riding on him coming back and being healthy as possible. But from a fantasy standpoint, you can go for trades, or try and waiver wire and run it that way. And if you are in that situation, then I'm gonna be honest, you're probably gonna be utilizing your waiver wire to not get any of the other guys that I just mentioned. You're probably using the waiver wire to have a spot for Drew on the bench until he gets healthy again. But other than that, because you damn sure don't want to put him back out there. You don't want to you don't want to put Drew Brees or Big Ben. Me personally, I wouldn't put Drew Brees on the waiver wire. Why? So someone can come in and scoop him up and just let him ride the bench for them until he's healthy. No way, no way, no way. So that's what you're looking at in those situations. Other than that, greatly appreciate everybody that came in the stream and joined up today. It was a pretty good time talking waiver wire, talking some trades. We've got some fantasy questions answered. I will have this uploaded over on our YouTube as well, so that people that have fantasy questions over there can drop them in the comments and let me know what all they need so I can help them out as well. But other than that, thank you guys for joining. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the Rumboyz and girls, what it do. Dilly dilly. I'm out of here.